day, and I don't know. I just kind of want it to be a little more up close and personal. I've got my little tea light candle there, um, but I just kind of wanted to get a little cozy. Where can I put this so that you could see it? I wanted to be a little cozy with everyone and not quite so distant, and do a little reading tonight. We're all snowed in and can't go anywhere, so I said, well, what better time than to go ahead on and take a couple of minutes tonight and read some more. So, yeah, that's what I want to do. I got my coffee, half a cup left in my little 7-Eleven cup. But I wish that you could see my candle. I had it in the shot before, but now it's not visible. That's kind of annoying. I need something to kind of sit. Oh, here we go. All right. I knew I had it in there before. Yay. Now I've got all of the pieces. Oh, the perfume. So I kind of was like trying to keep in theme, like with like the red theme. So yesterday I had Red by Beverly Hills, by Giorgio Beverly Hills, and tonight I've got White Diamonds in Rouge. That's by Elizabeth Taylor. So of course you know the original White Diamonds is in like a gold, like a clear bottle, and it's the juice in it is gold in color. But this one is her flanker, so like one of her little sisters, and it is amazing. I love it. So again, I don't have my other device to look up the notes, but I will put them on the screen. But I did want to kind of guess. So it's let's not start a fire. I'm gonna turn this way. um, it is definitely a winter scent, right? So it's White Diamonds in Rouge. So that's red. That beautiful bottle is red. It's heavy. It's, I want to say floral, but I'm getting floral and woody notes, sandalwood and whatnot. So I'm gonna surprise myself, and when I see what the notes are, when I look them up, I want to know if I was right. So then also I have, and this I was just using as like a little room spray. This is Heaven Sent. Who is this by? By Dana. Her classic line. And it is very powdery. It just smells like straight up baby powder. I've been using this as an accent for an oil that I got called Double Diamond, and it is so refreshingly powdery. Like, oh my goodness, it smells so good. So I've been kind of layering that with this Heaven Sent. And this just smells like baby powder. It's so light. Mm-hmm. Ain't that right, Sabitzis? You guys can't see the cats, but they're over here. Just relaxing by the heater. So anyway, I hope that everybody is in the house and warm and cozy, and as much as possible, if you can be in the house, then be in the house, or at least just out of the elements. I'm sending all the good vibes and all the warm vibes to everyone, to my listeners, and I hope that my little stories can be a cozy comfort to you. Yesterday, we left off at section 2. So that is where we'll begin. Section 2. It takes a village of mothers. And I have 2 stories from out of this section that were my faves. So, this story is Even a Dancing Time by Angela V. Shannon. Periods. Depending on who you were and where you were, it could have meant 1,000 different things. In English class, it meant punctuation. In history, it meant a stage, a moment in time. But in my 12-year-old existence, it meant a turn in the road, a rite of passage, entry into a clan. It meant the end of innocence and the beginning of something evil, disappointing, and downright tragic. It meant that, like my sisters, my aunts, my mother, and her mother, and all the mothers before her, I was cursed. Memories seal firmly in my mind. One I know I'll never lose is the image of my mother on the morning I told her that my period had begun. There I was, so excited, the words pressing against my chest, poised on my tongue, so urgent and ready. The morning was fresh with the scent of summer, and the sun hovered over dense green trees, casting long bands of yellow light across the floor of my pretty girl pink little room. Here it was, what we girls had been whispering about since the fifth grade. Who had gotten it and what it felt like. Stop it! Who owned the special belt and who didn't. Whose mother had taken them shopping for special panties and Kotex pads and whose hadn't. For one solid year, I was in the didn't and hadn't column. But that day, in the freshness of summer, I stood beaming and excited to be in the had and did corner of the world. Ma, I think I have my period, I said, looking to the floor yet secretly smiling. I lifted my eyes to check her expression after the words floated from my mouth and wafted along the air to her ears. I imagined her sitting on the edge of my bed, an arm curled around my shoulder. We'd climb into our big yellow Chevy Malibu, just the two of us, and make our way over to Sears, where we'd walk hand in hand through the aisles, holding training bras with little pink bows and panties to match. We'd find a special little belt that most of the girls already had, and later, at my home, I would lower it into my nightstand and into a scented sachet pillow, as if it were a treasure made of gold instead of spandex. My little heart felt light and full of song. It wasn't her arms that curled that day, but the corners of her mouth, curling in sheer disgust. Her shoulders slumped, her eyes were heavy and downcast. The next thing I saw was her back, turning to leave the room, and then her words, heavy as bricks, crashing to the floor. I guess you'll have to go to the doctor then, she mumbled, and that was it. The doctor's visit never came. Neither did the sanitary belt or the discussion about what was happening to my body. All that I wanted to know and understand came as whispered misinformation in the coat closet after lunch recess. Information that would later be checked and verified against a book I had found in my older sister's room. Guess what? I heard. I'm reading it wrong. Guess what? I heard if a boy kisses a girl on one of those days, she can get a baby, wrote a friend in a scribbled note passed from 2 rows over in 6th grade class. No, you can't, I wrote back in big letters. Oh, yes, you can, too, she insisted, exclamation marks at the end, spikes drawn almost as tall as the paper. Night after night, beneath my covers, guided by a single thread of light from a flashlight no one knew I had, I read. I snuck peeks of pictures of women's reproductive organs and snickered at images of babies being born. You would have thought I was reading pornography instead of an educational book about the facts of life in an effort to understand what was happening to my body. For all that I had learned from that book and others, I still, for years, held on to the belief that a woman's body, my body, was sinful. As a young teen, I thought breasts were just objects meant for boys ogling. Wide hips were the result of some girl being too grown and menstruation, a word we sixth grade girls could hardly pronounce, was not natural and life affirming, but dirty, vile, and just plain disgusting. Those negative images and beliefs about my body led to years and years of shyness, hiding my changing shape beneath bigger clothing and doing what I could to not give a man a reason to violate me. It just it took just as many years and miles away from that pretty girl pink little room to realize that I wasn't alone. Talking to my girlfriends, we shared many similar stories and came to the conclusion that our African American mothers, aunts, and grandmothers came from a generation of women who rarely talked about those things and are inherently female, and things that are inherently female: periods, breasts, and vaginas. For many of them, unfortunately, a menstruating daughter only meant the inevitable trouble of an unplanned, unwanted pregnancy they could ill afford. The language and love and support we girls needed was simply choked back in fear. Girl, when I told my mother that I had my period, she broke down and cried, one friend said over lunch. My mother stopped me from playing with the boys altogether, added someone else, reaching for the sugar. Girl, don't feel bad. I'm just now learning how to size myself for a bra, said another, just 3 years shy of her 35th birthday. In sharing our stories, we share our strengths. Somehow we discover how ridiculous our beliefs can be. The more I share my story with my friends, the more I learned and appreciated what I now understand as the sacred feminine. Just as the moon takes its way around the earth every 28 days in a cycle, so too does my body cycle to renew and regenerate itself. And what could be more liberating than that? What could be more spiritually freeing than knowing how connected we are as women to the divine plan of the universe? What could be more life affirming than the body of a woman, so fruitful and packed with seeds of possibility? What could be greater than the stories and poems and music and paintings and the worlds of new ideas, all birthed from the body and heart and soul of a woman? What I know now as a woman that I didn't know as a girl is that not only is my body beautiful and sacred, it is mine to celebrate in the ways that I choose. That time of the month is no time for crying or feeling cursed, but for me to at least a time to go within and a reminder to take good care of myself. Sometimes a tea time. Sometimes a leave me alone for a good long bad time. Sometimes even a dancing time. I am science and I am spirit, but I am nobody's curse. One more thing I know is this: when the day that arrives for my daughter, I will curl my arms around her shoulders and welcome her into the fold of being a woman. I will celebrate that milestone with her, not mourn its coming. There will be hand in hand, and this time it won't be my imagination. Angel V. Shannon. I thought that was cute. Um, as a celebration of womanhood and that time of the month. Sometimes it can be a dreaded time, something that we, don't look forward to. But, it maybe our thinking on it can change to be a little more allowing of it. Maybe do a little more research on its connectivity to the tides and the moons and all of that. It's really a beautiful time period that shouldn't be um, as looked down upon as it is. We secretly dread it, but we should be secretly celebrating it and using it as a time to connect and pray and journal and sip our tea and be extra kind to ourselves. Yeah. So, Soul Food Rite of Passage by Anita S. Lane. Mommy, this is all so yummy. my 5-year-old daughter repeated at least 3 times while eating. Thank you, sweetheart. I was just trying to make it like Big Mama's. You did a good job. She then walked over to me, and with her sweet, soft voice, she said, Big Mama would be proud. And she clasped her little arms around my waist. I had done it. I had finally mastered that delectable pot roast like the one Big Mama makes. You know, the kind that melts in your mouth and makes you want to sing while you eat. It had taken numerous attempts, but this time I had done it. Seasoned white potatoes, carrots, and caramelized sweet onion accompanied the roast, along with golden brown bubbling over macaroni and cheese. Oh my goodness! Candied yams and tender collard greens. Honey, she's making my mouth water. I love food. And food descriptions in books. Delicious. Oh, hi, baby. Come here. This is my baby cat. I don't think you've ever met my Mindy kitty. Say hi to Mindy. Say hello to the people. She doesn't like to be held quite as much as Cheeto. Cheeto really likes it. But, yeah, okay. So, my bad. Let's get back to the candy yams. Hold on. Now, where did I go? Oh, okay. Here we go. My bad. Distracted. Okay, so let's just start completely over with this story. Soul food rite of passage. And I won't get distracted anymore with the candy yams. Mommy, this is all so yummy, my 5-year-old daughter repeated at least 3 times while eating. Thank you, sweetheart. I was just trying to make it like Big Mama's, and you did good. She then walked over to me, and with her sweet, soft voice, she said, Big Mama would be proud, and she clasped her little hands around my waist. I had done it. I had finally mastered that delectable pot roast like the one Big Mama makes. You know, the kind that melts in your mouth and makes you want to sing while you eat. It had taken numerous attempts, but this time I had done it. Seasoned white potatoes, carrots, and caramelized sweet onion accompanied the roast, along with golden brown bubbling over macaroni and cheese, candied yams, and tender collard greens. I had spent most of the afternoon in a hot kitchen preparing this perfect soul food dinner, and I was now ready to clear away the dishes so that I could kick back and relax. But wait, something was missing. Mommy, my 3-year-old said, as he gazed up at me from his empty plate with those dark brown puppy dog eyes. Yes, honey. I wanted bread with it. Bread? It took me a few seconds to figure out what he meant. Oh, you mean cornbread? I asked. Yes, he said. I'm sorry, baby. Mommy didn't make any cornbread. I would have to cook some, I said. Okay, he said. And he got up and went to play. I thought that because he had already eaten his entire dinner, he would soon forget about the cornbread. I continued to clean the kitchen when a few minutes later my son returned. Mommy, I said I wanted cornbread. He was serious. As I dragged my tired feet to the counter to get back into the cooking mode that I thought I had concluded, I couldn't help but fast forward into the future 16 years. This is what mamas do, I thought. They gladly make their children's favorite foods for them. Mom, I'm coming home from school this weekend. Can you make me roast macaroni and cheese, candy yams, greens, and cornbread? Yeah, I could envision that conversation between me and my 19-year-old son. I just didn't think that this sort of thing would begin at age 3. And I was tired, wanted to sit down, but there was this voice in my head. Child, make that boy some cornbread. It was the voice of Big Mama. Besides, what's a soul food dinner without cornbread? Big Mama always has bread. oven baked cornbread, hot water cornbread, homemade rolls. It doesn't matter, but there's always bread. As I began to stir the eggs and pour in the milk, a smile formed on my face. I realized that for hundreds of years, African American mamas have taken great pleasure in preparing treasured meals for their children. And now it was my turn, a rite of passage of sorts. I was now the mama whose cooking her children would brag about and crave for decades to come. Truth be told, I'm a grown woman, and I still like to make food requests of Big Mama, or at least I did up until she died months ago. What you want, baby? She would ask. And although she was in her 70s, she would spend hours in the kitchen preparing a fantastic made to order home cooked soul food extravaganza and drive 20 miles to bring it to us. Now it's my turn. Big Mama has passed on. The next time I get a special food request, even if my feet are aching, I will count it a blessing. The sweet aroma of hot cornbread baking in the oven lured my 3-year-old son right back to the table. It wasn't even out of the oven before he was in his seat ready to eat. The smile on his face made it all worthwhile. Was the only syllable he uttered as he inhaled the bread and filled that tiny tummy of his. My daughter was right. Big Mama would be proud. She wasn't there to see it, but I had finally had my soul food rite of passage. Yes, Anita S. Lane. Food is like, it's so close to our culture. Food, and that's why, like I said before, it's really not good to judge how people eat or to make people feel a way about their choice of food and things like that, because you never know how a person eats affects them and makes them feel and what it means to them. Food is so close to everyone's culture. It's who you are. I love for my mom, honey, I love for my mommy to make me pig feet and collard greens and potato salad. That's my favorite meal for her to make me. When she make me some pig feet, and everybody's like, oh, excuse you, Cheeto. Everybody's like, oh my goodness, Keisha, I can't believe you eat like that. You can't do it more than maybe once or twice a year because it's very fattening, but it is my favorite thing for her to make. And my kids like for me to make Alfredo. They really like my daughter is just head over heels for my chicken and broccoli Alfredo or shrimp Alfredo, however we choose to make it. That girl is a pasta girl. So we always have fun with that. Yay. All right, let me see. Okay, we got a little bit more time. Let me see. Section 3. Beautiful just the way I am. O ye daughters of Africa, awake, arise. No longer sleep nor slumber, but distinguish yourselves. Show forth to the world that ye are endowed with noble and exalted faculties. I heard that, yes. Maria W. Stewart. I love it. That's beautiful. So from this section, I have The Dreadful Story. Quote from Whoopi Goldberg. Let me take a sip of my coffee. I'm a little thirsty. I wish I had brought my water in here. So that I could have that too. Goodness. Sometimes coffee doesn't really quench my thirst the way that I want it to. Quote from Whoopi Goldberg. I've learned to take for myself and to treat myself with a great deal of love and a great deal of respect because I like me. I think I'm kind of cool. Me too. I think I'm cool. I think you're cool. And I hope that you think that you're cool too because you are. You're the coolest. You're the best. This is The Dreadful Story by Lisa Bartley Lacey. I vividly recall The great time my mama sat me in a tub to rinse that ultra sheen lye based permanent relaxer out of my head. What you doing to that child's head? Daddy asked. Her hair is too thick and nappy. This'll help me manage this mess, Mama res- resolutely responded. She's too young for all that in her hair, Daddy pressed. No, I got my hair relaxed when I was even younger. Mama tilted my head back under the tub faucet to rinse out the smelly caustic gook. But she's fine, just like she is. Well, it's too late now, Mama said as she began my lye cleansing deactivating shampoo. And I'm the one who has to try to get through this child's long, thick head of hair every day. You gonna do her sister's hair like that too? Daddy asked. No. Mama lathered my hair. Her fingers stung into my tenderized, chemically softened scalp. I winced slightly. Good, Daddy shouted, relieved. Well, her sister doesn't need it. She has good hair, Mama said, matter of factly. Mama, I whispered, having just received the revelation regarding my naughty hair. Yes, baby, Mama answered tenderly as she tilted me back into the cool stream of the tub faucet. Am I going to have good hair now? I asked in search of something good out of the strange hair ritual I had just endured. Yes, baby, Mama assured me. I smiled, squinted my eyes, squinted my eyes closed to ignore the burning, stinging pain that had been circling the edge of my right ear throughout the process. The next day, all the little girls in my kindergarten class wanted to touch my long, silky braids. It felt so pretty despite my scabbing, throbbing ear. My mother had neglected to put enough gel, grease really, on my right ear before she began relaxing my hair. The lye had been left to sit directly on my ear, causing a nasty chemical burn. I didn't care though. My hair was being so good. Lisa Bartley, my afro-wearing teacher, remarked with a tender smile, Don't you look pretty today? Thank you, Miss Jackson, I gleamed. About 30 years later, I got up one day and looked at the smiling black beauties on my box of dark and lovely permanent relaxer. I looked past their smiles, into their eyes, then into the mirror. Those who have known me for a number of years know that I have gone from color to color, style to style, and in and out and back again with my hair. I'm an artist, and I'm an artist at heart, and my head has been a special kind of canvas of self-expression, trying out different hairstyles. I have sported various relaxed styles, the infamous flip braids, the bone straight look, twists, and so on. I was, however, growing weary of the eternal process of trying to maintain so-called good hair status. I began to dread having my hair done when all of a sudden it occurred to me, perhaps, I should dread having my hair done. Oh, wait a minute. I began to dread having my hair done when all of a sudden it occurred to me that perhaps I should dread having my hair done. I tossed out my dark and lovely, turned up my Bob Marley Legend CD, grabbed my beeswax, and went to work on the first step of locking my hair. I began by sectioning it into individual single strand twists of hair that I rolled into separate sections with sticky dollops of beeswax. I was so engaged in what I was doing that time passed quickly. Even though it was 6 hours later when I smiled broadly at the results, I had full of dreads. Of course, it would take another 6 weeks for them to really begin to tighten, get nappy, and all locked up. But in the meantime, as I looked in the mirror, singing right along with Marley for the 100th time that day, I nodded my absolute approval. The next day at work, people kept looking at my hair, but they didn't say much. I chuckled on the inside at their perplexed sideways glances. They were whites, mostly middle-aged or older folks. They knew something looked different because I usually wore my hair in relaxed, silky little twists. At this point, my hair appeared basically the same as the twist, but subtly different. Things really developed as my hair began to lock up. I could tell that they could not really figure it out. They would look, and some would even make awkward attempts to ask me about it. But I felt free. I felt even better than I had felt that first day at school after my first relaxer. This time there were no burns. Imagine that. I had never been so happy with my hair, my skin, and my nature, my authenticity. I felt like a queen, a God crowned queen. My hair had become my own personal study and culture on human nature and sisterhood. On a regular basis, I have people of all races stop me and comment on my hair. It's funny sometimes. I never. It's funny sometimes. I never anticipated this. White people don't know what to think, nor do they seem to care all that much. Black people have a more complex reaction. Many are pretty cool about it, even if they would never go that far with their own heads. Some are downright hostile. I think it makes them self conscious or something, but that is their issue, not mine. Many people sport dreads these days, but obviously not so many that they have completely emerged from an enigmatic status. Recently, I was walking into the grocery store and a sharp sister stopped and said, "Girl, I just love your hair." Now that is truly beautiful. She was with her man, who was also sharp, and he smiled in agreement. I said, "Why, thank you, sister. I love your hair too." Now, as I look back upon the journey my hair has taken, it seems Daddy knew something about the beauty of African American women's hair that perhaps even we women don't know. We are naturally beautiful, and we all already have good hair. We have the hair that the Creator chose to crown us with. That's good enough for me. Lisa Bartley Lacey. And that is so true. And I think that every woman, and especially my generation of women, like the millennials, when we decided to go natural, we were like the first wave of early 2000s natural girlies that kind of went through the trial and error and the acceptance and not acceptance of like the modern natural hair movement. I remember when I went natural, I was maybe 18 or so. I was fresh out of high school, and it was not so accepted as it is now. I had a little journey and a little story to tell about hair, and I think that we all kind of go through it, and I think that that is a common cultural thread amongst black women. It connects us and joins us. I also, in that journey, met a couple of my best friends. I have connected with some beautiful women. I have done some beautiful styles on myself. It wound up being a healthy journey, but sometimes it can start off a little rocky, and it's good to have a support system. I definitely had my support system, but that support system developed. It wasn't always there. I definitely believe that my generation of millennials, we are the forerunners of the modern day natural hair movement. Now, 20 years later, things are so different. There's so much YouTube content. There's so many natural hair lines that you can try just in the hair store. We weren't, we didn't have all that. There's so much information available about natural hair care. We had to kind of fumble and bumble along and then put that out there. We had to go on naturality.com. Now it's not as popular as it was because of YouTube and stuff, but Naturality was my go-to hair website in the beginning. So that little story brought back a lot of memories. I think that we all, like I said, have a hair story to tell. All right. Next is Getting Real by Elaine K. Green. And the quote is from Marita Golden. The day I looked at myself with a natural was the first time I liked what I saw. Getting Real by Elaine K. Green. I was delighted and relieved when the afro first became popular. For me, it meant instant deliverance from the tyranny of the straightening comb that had not only pressed my unwielding hair for years, but pressed me as well into believing that I had little recourse except to burn myself often to be beautiful. Finally, I could relax and be my natural black self. Mother, however, did not share my elation at this new development. In fact, when she came home one day and caught first sight of my woolly head, she dropped both of her grocery bags, and it was not immediately clear if the wail she emitted originated in her throat or from somewhere deep in the recesses of her soul. We all went through it. Even after I had wiped up the last remnants of broken eggs and spilt chocolate milk from the floor, Mother was still fuming well into the night. At first, I assumed that her initial overreaction would be just a temporary thing. But as time went on, it became increasingly clear that adapting to the new bush hairdo was not an item on Mom's to-do list. And when I parted my coarse hair down the middle the next day and wore an afro puff on each side of my head, it just about pushed Mother over the edge. In fact, she refused to speak to me for several days, and when she did, it was with such an enduring sadness one might have thought that there had been a death in the house. I'm sorry. Black women are so dramatic. That's hilarious. Okay. She said, "White folks," she murmured one morning, finally emerging from her long silence, "never even knew y'all hair was bad, as if its true texture was some awful secret that people without color had to be kept safe from. It's an abomination, and I, Renee Davis Mitchell, will never stoop to wearing my hair like that," she announced before retreating to her room. Mother simply couldn't fathom that I had grown tired of living in constant anxiety of drizzly August days, of sudden spring showers, tired of frying hair late into the night, only to sweat it right back out where it started in our unair conditioned house. My hair on loan, as it were, like Cinderella's pumpkin at midnight. Tired of living out of sync with the universe that had already designed us without flaw, except that no black voice had ever affirmed that to me. Tired of the weekly scalp fry that transformed me into what I was not and could never be, or more specifically, what I could be for a few days or so, provided the humidity didn't rise, or, God forbid, the rickety window didn't sputter and tap out. The judging starts very early on when black mothers, grandmothers, and aunties gather crib-side to gauge the tenuous texture of their newborn's hair on some obscure scale where kudos are reserved only for the softer haired ones, hushed silences for all others. It is here that first fears are sealed. To deny the truth about oneself, I thought, was to deny one's own heritage, one's very DNA, the true essence of one's being. Still, on some level, I couldn't fully blame Mother for her archaic beliefs. After all, in her day, she had few, if any, positive black role models to emulate. She, like most of the black women I know, lived most of her adult life in hiding. We as women, she often insisted, we as women, she often insisted, must suffer to be beautiful. In her mind,
That meant burning the hair to the quick and limiting access to anyone who might be in its natural state, who might see it in its natural state. When I looked around, I observed that many of the women in our family perpetuated the same myth by hiding their hair beneath turbans or wigs. Then it happened. I came home one day to discover that Mom had done the unthinkable, shaved her head totally bald. When I saw her, I immediately backpedaled out of the front door, fear, fear, fearful that I had finally pushed my poor mother to the brink. She calmly explained that her childhood friend Eunice had lost most of her hair to cancer treatments. Mother apparently had decided she wanted to be there for Miss Eunice in a big way, so in a drastic move, shaved off her own hair. It was no small feat for a black woman to sport a shaved head in the 60s, least of all for my mother. Amazingly, through it all, something wonderful began to emerge. By helping her friend, Mother was forced to wrestle with her beliefs about her own beauty. I spied her on occasion observing herself in the mirror, slowly coming to terms with the budding, coarse strands as she saw there that she saw there. I took full advantage of this precious time to encourage her. I helped condition and nurture her and Miss Eunice's hair. This was a special time for them and for me. I eavesdropped on their adult chatter, drank from their wisdom, admired the way their heads nodded in loving accord. I was awed by the beauty of Mom's selfless act, but also realized that it was a turning point for her. A confidence I'd never seen before emerged in her. Even after we lost Miss Eunice, Mother still sported a lovely crop of natural hair, sometimes trimming it down to regal skull cap. My mother, the eternal poster child for bone straight hair, had become a trendsetter in her own right, instilling confidence among her family and peers, many of whom emulated her and retired their much used straightening combs as well. It is a muggy August morning. At daybreak, the same dew that clings to the petals scattered at our feet clings to us as well, to our bodies, to our natural hair. My mother and I stride along the silver stretch of beach for our morning walk, a daily ritual. Years ago, each of us might have spent these precious moments in quiet desperation, rifling through our bags for a plastic rain hat to shield us from the truth we knew would come. Today, no such thoughts intrude on our communion with each other. Today, we affirm our Creator's knowing hand is in His creation. Today, we hold our heads high with nothing hampering us and stride boldly in our magnificence into dew dropping day. Elaine K. Green, beautiful. Like I said, we all have a natural hair story to tell. When I tell you that her mother was so similar to my mother and to so many mothers, like my mother, like I said, in the early 2000s, she at first was not feeling it. Was not feeling it. But then as time went on and my hair grew out and she saw the different styles and she saw how much healthier the hair looks and is, she became so much more accepting of it. And that's what has to happen. Each generation has its forerunners of things, of different generational revolutions. And mine was a little bit of the hair revolution. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. But that's for a different video. Yeah, it's interesting, like I said. And we all have a story to tell. And for the last story of this section, and I think for the night, and then I'm going to get back to this tomorrow is only a day away. Yeah.
nappy hair affair. How much longer is this? Oh, it's hot in here. Wait a minute. Let me turn this heater off. About to bake myself. Mm-mm. All right. Stretch out my legs. We are almost done. Just two more stories. One. Yes, two. Let me see how many pages this is. Oh no, this is the last story. And then there was a little comment that I wanted to show you. All right. So our last story for the night, Birth of a Nappy Hair Affair by Linda Jones. And the quote is from Malcolm X. We teach you to love the hair God gave you. More than 8 years ago, I had my first affair for women with nappy hair. It was intended to be a simple hair grooming session, an opportunity for me and my girlfriends to get together on a Sunday afternoon and do our own hair. There were some who thought I was trying to revive an African tradition, but as much as I embraced some traditions of the motherland, what I had in mind when I decided to have a gathering wasn't that deep. All I wanted to do was offer a place for my friends who wear African inspired and natural hairstyles to be among kindred spirits and come get their hair done for free. How cute! At my house, their unapologetically nappy heads would not stand out in the crowd. On that one afternoon, they could be assured that they would have majority status. At my house, their royal crowns would be the rule, not the exception. I also had selfish reasons for sponsoring the gathering. I wanted to take a trip back to my childhood. I missed the moments of bonding when the females in our house got together to do hair. I'm not talking about the traumatic Saturday night rituals when my mother fried our hair in preparation for church on Sunday morning. That's when the sight of her brandishing the hot comb, the hissing sound it made when it came into contact with my grease laden hair, and the peculiar smell of something burning in my head made me wish I was born bald. What I missed were the more natural moments when my mother placed her healing hands directly on my head. I remembered how comforting it was nestled between her strong knees as she oiled and massaged my scalp with her fingers before brushing, combing, and arranging my hair into a simple style of plaits or ponytails. That is sweet and comforting. I would lean back, close my eyes, and surrender to her firm but gentle touch. Being the eldest daughter, I often did my younger sister's hair, and when my mother was too tired to do her own, I would do it for her. Those were the times when we were closest. Having the hair affair would give me an opportunity to recreate such moments at my home with my extended family of sister friends. I got the idea one day at the office after listening to my friend and coworker lament about how hard it was to find the right hairstylist to do her locks. As a temporary solution, I suggested that she come to my house so we could do each other's hair. I told her I knew other women with similar concerns so we could make it a communal affair. I decided to have it on the third Sunday in May. It was an experiment. I didn't really know what to expect. I never imagined that 8 years later, I would still be having what has now come to be known as Hair Day. Hair Day has evolved into much more than grooming sessions. At these gatherings, my sister friends and I form a circle of solidarity and support. We celebrate our hair through storytelling and poetry readings and endless testimonials about our journey to appreciate ourselves as we really are. Hair Day is a time when my friends come to relax, they come to talk, and sometimes vent about those who have judged them harshly for their choice to be themselves. Our circle is an eclectic mix of Ivy League pedigrees and sisters with no degrees. We have mothers and daughters, women who work with women in transition. We have artists, writers, teachers, and students, African dancers, and sisters who drum.
My first hair affair intrigued my friends who wore perms. One even got offended when she didn't get an invitation. It wasn't that I had anything against her. Some of my best friends wore perms. So, is my hair not nappy enough? Jean asked me. For obvious reasons, I didn't think she'd be interested in attending. But she knew that I invited another friend, Karen, who also wears perms. My hair's nappier than hers, Jean whined, and she proved it. She proceeded to part her relaxed hair with her fingers to show me her new growth. I couldn't believe I was actually watching a straight haired sister trying to outnap another straight haired sister. I was flattered and amused. Jane wanted so much to be invited to my nappy hair affair that she tried to produce enough kinks to qualify for admission. I told her that wasn't necessary and invited her to come anyway. She never showed up, but 20 others did. At 3 o'clock, women with skin kissed by the sun gathered in my backyard on that warm spring Sunday afternoon and transformed it into a garden of locks and twists and bantu knots, braids, and afros in full bloom. To set the tone, I posted a sign in the kitchen. Welcome to my nappy hair care affair. Make yourself at home. Find a seat on a chair on the floor. Help yourself to whatever you bought to eat, but don't bother me because I'm getting my hair done. So you best find someone to do yours. The message was clear. This was an unstructured, self-serve hair care affair. My home is a no-shoe zone, so my guests seemed more than willing to shed their footwear and get on common ground. They deposited their potluck dishes in the kitchen and returned to the backyard where they gravitated towards my deck. They briefly exchanged greetings and then moved quickly into conversations about hair. That sounds so fun and cute. Every conceivable topic was covered. They swapped hair care recipes, how witch hazel reduces buildup in the locks, and how lemon juice keeps them tight. They shared hair taboo and superstitions. Eventually, the women got around to what the gathering was all about. They chose partners and got busy grooming hair. We worked to the sounds of reggae, merengue, and jazz. Amazing. It was beautiful. Some worked while standing, others sat in stair step fashion, palm rolling, twisting, or otherwise fussing over the head of the person in front of them. Their arms were extended like branches of a family tree and moving nonstop. Watching them work reminded me of the painting Links and Lineage. The painting by Paul Goodnight, a Boston based artist, depicts a family tree of black women, from the elderly matriarch to the youngest girl, engaging in the ritual of grooming each other's hair. What was happening on my back deck was like seeing Goodnight's painting come to life. Denise, one of the token permies, was so moved by what she was witnessing that afternoon that she asked for us to take her back to her roots. She asked me for a pair of scissors. Oh, does anyone know how to cut hair? She asked. She insisted that one of us cut away all traces of her relaxed hair. Annette, a willowy artist, accepted the challenge and took the scissors. Now, the only real experience Annette had cutting hair was when she cut her own locks and used them in her artwork. Denise wasn't worried. If there was ever a time to do this, it's today, she said as she settled into the chair. Annette handled Denise's head like it was a structure in progress. For most of an hour, Annette meticulously snipped and shaped until all that was left on Denise's head was a short, woolly layer of virgin hair softly framing her face. It was a nappy work of art, which drew applause from the sisters who watched from the sidelines and a warm hug from Denise, who was ecstatic over her new natural look. I feel good, she squealed as she peered into the mirror. I feel light. I feel free. Watching Denise's transformation after Annette's shearing was a powerful moment. I didn't want the evening to end. Apparently, my friends didn't either. The last one left at 1:30 a.m. As I said, I had no grand intentions when I had my first hair day. I didn't even think beyond the first one. Yet it evolved into something more than I ever thought it would be. Now everyone has gotten into the act. Brothers and children also join us for a little nap nurturing, and my hair day gatherings have spread to many cities in the United States and abroad. My hair affair has become a real family affair, and that's all good. Yay! Linda Jones. Oh, that was good. I recently saw my cousin and we were talking about our hair, and she was telling me how I was the one who dared her. And I remember doing it too, because, like I said, I was one of the first in my family and just like kind of in general to just go ahead on and shave my head off. And I went natural. And like some months later, a year later, when my hair was growing in, and my cousin was like, on the fence about it. And I was like, I dare you. And I just double dog dared her to cut all her hair off and go natural. And she did. She was like, oh, you dare me? Like, I got you there. She was like, bet. And she cut all her hair off, and we've been natural ever since. So yeah, that was fun. Oh, here's the I wanted to show you the cute little comic. I'll take a picture of it and put it up so that you can see it really good. I'm gonna read it to you, but that's what it looks like. But it says, this is all of us. That's funny. She's saying, I've got food, water, books, fresh clothes, and a fridge to last you until I get back. I'll return in one day, boys, I promise. And her sons say, I miss her. I'll miss her. Yeah, I hate it when she goes to the hairdresser. And that's exactly how it is. It's a day long affair. It's all day. So tomorrow I'll come back and we'll do another section or so and probably wrap this up. All right. See you.